Alrighty. Let's make it happen, Captain. You know, Dodger, not there. When last we joined our stalwart explorers, we were doing we had made it so we could drop things. Initialize, create faller. Yeah, that's what it was. So game.create faller. Okay. So the next thing we want to do on this is to make them randomly fall at different speeds, fall at different sizes, things like that. You can move up somewhere like approximately like in front of, if you'd like.
Good shit, dude.
What was it? Person of society? No. So in our create faller, we need to put in some randomization. Well, first, let's get status. Dash get checkout dash B, gonna make another branch, and then like ren. Actually, we're gonna still add fallers. We're not really done with that. Get stash apply. Get add. See what we're. Make sure we got that. Well, I can make it randomly position itself, but it's not really responsible for that. Right now, we are in the Dodger game. That's creating a faller. It would be, this part area would be responsible for where it's supposed to be. So let's say that our total area element or display area, what is it? It's game width is equal to this dot DOM element dot width, and then from that we can get a random number. Random x is equal to math dot floor math dot random times game width, and then we can take that random x left, oops, right there, left. Is that big enough for you guys? I need to make it bigger, huh? Then Derek's gonna move back over there again. Game width plus pixels, or not game width, but random x, sorry. All right, let's see what happens with that. Oh, nobody for that middle area seems to be. Okay, let's randomize the speed as well. random speed is equal to math.floor. I keep doing that quite a lot, so I'm going to make a. Do I have a randomized function anywhere? Here's not. This dot get random number equals function min comma max. Return math dot floor. Come on, dot floor math dot random times max minus min plus min. So then down here, this dot get random number game width, and then up here I can say if max is equal to undefined. Oh, that was wrong. Fine. Max is equal to min. Min is equal to 0. So I want to do, like, if I pass in just one parameter, it'll take me from 0 to that number. I don't want to pass in 0, comma, whatever. So I'm making it a little bit more useful in that regard. And the same thing up here. This dot get random number. I apologize for my yawning. I've not slept much. And let's go up to here. This dot max followers. Actually, I'm gonna say this dot game settings is equal to an object, and follower settings min speed 20, max speed 100. And then down here, get random number, this dot game settings dot follower settings dot min speed and max speed. And put that down here. That seems fairly random. Let's get some different types. Now, I wanted to add classes onto there to make it different sizes, but I don't necessarily want these to all be defined inside the function. Because if I have to do like red follower, medium, and medium follower, that's all CSS classes that attach to outside things, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass them in as a parameter list. I'm gonna do, I could do a currying function, but I think that's a bit more advanced what you want to get into right at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make something that basically just stashes properties. So I'm gonna say in here, like, follower classes. And then I'm gonna say is if follower classes is not equal to undefined, this say this dot game settings dot faller settings dot faller classes is equal to faller classes. The first time I call it, I can call it with like a list of various classes I want to apply to it randomly. And then after that, I can just successfully call it with no arguments, and it'll just take what it got before and use that again. What I'll pass in is an array of strings that will be classes that it could pick from. So I need to pick from one of those. I'm going to modify my getRandomNumber. I'm going to say if array.isArray min. Remember, stop me if you don't know what I'm doing. Then min equals, var data equals min equals 0, max equals data dot length.
What's array dot is array?
Array, the capital A array, is the array master object. It has all the methods that arrays can do, like to sort and whatnot. It's also the progenitor object. So if I say it's like var something equals new capital A array, that would make an array the old school way. Now, the array function, much like the math function, has additional functions on it. What isArray does is tell me whether or not the object is an array, because technically there is no array data type. If you did a type of on an array, you'd get object. Yeah.
Okay. Does it returns true or false? Or?
True or false.
Okay.
The reason why you couldn't do that on, like, say, I couldn't say like, some data dot isArray is if it's not an array, it won't have the array isArray function. So I have to use the isArray method on the master array object. And I pass in the data I want to check to see if it's an array or not.
Okay. So it's checking if min is an array.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can pass in either a single number, that would be the max, 0 to the max. Or I can pass in a min and a max, or I can pass in an array, and it will randomly select one of the items from it and return it to me. So I have now a randomized function that can take 3 different types of properties, all in one thing.
Gotcha.
Now, in this case, might have to do different functionality. Like, I want to do this in a more elegant way. So data question mark math.floor min, that would be data at that, or that. Oops, lost an M. So if data is undefined, then it'll pick the second one. If data is...
Oh, I see. Okay. I was thinking you needed to change.
It should work, maybe. We'll find out. And then down here, for my class, I'm going to var random class is equal to this dot get random. Really, number is now no longer appropriate, so get random. Get random. Get random. This dot game settings dot faller settings dot faller classes. And then down here, random class. All right, so heavy potential of this fucking up because I don't know if I wrote my ternary right. So let's find out. Pull this over. Random class is not a number. All right, so I gotta go into this code up here and figure out what I'm doing. Put a breakpoint up here. Actually, put a breakpoint down here. And also, I think I have a random number beforehand. Random speed. Did that come out? That came out properly. Try that again. That was interesting. Oh, it never went in there. Oh, wait. Okay, that was odd. Let's try that again. Let's go to here, this line, put our breakpoint, refresh. And okay, let's go into that function. Min is undefined. Did I not? Follower class. Oh, right, because I never actually gave it a fucking class.
Oh.
Okay, so I really need to put a check in there of like,
Sean Holland is slacking you and saying that the video, he can hear you, but he can't see you.
Oh, right, because I didn't actually project it on. Oh, that was wonderful. Didn't actually share the screen. Sorry. Well, at least we haven't done much. All right, so sorry about that. So I need to make a check here that if this else if that is equal to undefined, console.error must supply at least one class as an array to this method. Turn. Pull up this. Okay. Minimize this. Refresh. Try it again. Take off the breakpoint. Take out the debugger statement probably. I'll leave it there for now. There we go. Got the error. All right. So the first time, I'm going to give it just our, what was it, red medium faller. Red medium faller. So that gave us a red medium faller, because that's the only thing it could. Okay. It wasn't the code was wrong, it's my execution of the code was wrong. All right, let's make a few more classes. So like red small faller, blue medium faller, and I don't know what, green green tiny faller. And small will be, let's say 8. And that'll be a little bit smaller. Yeah, I think 13 will be good. And then tiny will be like 4. So I got these all in one place. Small. Eventually I'll replace these with things like, hard or easy, because it's more indicative of what they're trying to be as opposed to something in particular about their size or color. Okay. Refresh the game, do this, replace this with this. Now if I do game.create faller, they are all red. Ooh, that's not, something was not being done correctly in the CSS. But, okay, now they're all falling. And we got different sizes, different speeds, different things. All right. I will worry about the color problem later, but I will put a note to myself to do check out the reason all squares are red. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is we need to make these things die when they get to the bottom. Can't do very good to have them just constantly going down over and over again. I, for that, want to put this into, I can either do it in the main game controller, or, actually, did I? Yeah, I did put a lot of things having to do with what they are in the game controller itself. I'm not exactly happy with that. But I don't necessarily want to move it right now into the faller itself, but I will put the dying function into the faller. So faller.prototype.die is equal to function. And then I'm going to say this.alive equals false, so it stops falling. I'm also going to stop the heartbeat. So do I have stop one? No, I don't. So faller.prototype.stop heartbeat beat equals function. And I'm going to say clear interval this.heartbeat timer. And then I'm going to set this.heartbeat timer to null, just to indicate that it's no longer active. And down here, I'm going to this.stop heartbeat. And then I'm also going to remove the DOM element. So this.faller element, faller DOM element, is that what it is? I don't think so. .remove. And then I really want to tell the parent that it should remove me as well. So I'm going to say this.parent.remove faller this. And then back up at the parent object, where do I have add faller, create faller? I'm going to say this.remove faller equals function, and faller in question right there. And then I'm going to go to my list of fallers say this dot followers dot index of follower to get that, and that is var follower index is equal to that, and then this dot followers dot splice follower index comma 1. To make this more robust against possible race conditions having to do with followers being removed. Okay, now when are we to remove it? Who's going to be responsible for that?
Could there be a function that looks at the follower when it's at bottom negative?
Well, there's no negative. Negative is above the top. You'd have to look for the X or the Y position to be below the bottom of the screen, which would be below the height of the screen. But that wasn't, that's off. That's, yeah, of course we can do that. So we have to do that. The bigger question for me is who is responsible for it? Is it the follower that's responsible for checking, or is it the game that's responsible for checking? I think it's the follower's responsibility to check whether it's out of bounds, but it has to know what the bounds are from the parent. So
Can you just give it the viewport size, the screen size?
I could, but that's the thing is like, do I make it check? Like, could the viewport change itself, or would I have to worry about that? I'm not going to worry about it so much. I'm going to go with like follower dot prototype dot check position equals function, and I'm going to have stored in there this dot parent height is equal to null, and I'm going to say if I really want to store that new X rather than trying to fetch it every time. So I'm going to store also, I'm going to say rather than var new X, I'm going to say this dot current X is equal to that, and then this dot current X, sorry, whoa, that's, huh? Y, that's right. Y, and up here, this dot current Y is equal to null. If this dot current Y is greater than this dot parent height, this dot die. So when it gets below, actually, sorry, the Y, so it has to be the Y plus the height of it. So I do need to get that when I first start this. I'm going to say that this dot height is equal to this dot follower element dot height, and put that up here so I know. This dot height. I like keeping track of these things rather than having to constantly look them up over and over and over again, because it's never. I don't need to check it. I don't need to look it up every time. Theoretically, my height should never change unless, of course, I'm resizing the screen. But at some point, what I'll do is I'll put in a master kind of resize function, which will then go through and recalculate everything inside of it to make sure everything's up to date. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so current Y should be current Y plus this dot height. I call it right, yeah. Put that in parentheses so everybody knows that it's something happening first. And then finally, we just need to be able to tell it, like, okay, what is the parent height? Well, where we create the element, create element, I'm going to say this dot parent height is equal to this dot parent dot get game area height. Means I got to go up to here and do this dot get game area height is equal to a function and return this dot DOM element. Yeah, I think so. DOM element. Nope, wait. Player area. No, that's different. So DOM element dot height. All right, we did a lot of stuff, a lot of possibility for something to fuck up. So let's see what happens. Of course, I'm not gonna know if it's, I really should put a console log in there or something. But I can wait till the bottom and then do, well, no errors directly. Let's see what our Dodger game fallers still has a faller in it, so it didn't trigger. Although it doesn't look like it's running, it's not changing. Although maybe it is. Let's try this. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so we need to put a check in there. Oh, maybe we didn't do that check. Okay, let's go down to here to check position, which was, oh, I haven't done it yet, that's why. This dot check position. But really we don't need to do that until after we fall a little bit. I'm going to put breakpoint here too. Well, no, I don't want to do that because then it would actually stop every tick along the way, and that'd be a pain in the ass. Okay, nothing exploded. And the array followers array is empty. So let's walk through it to make sure it actually did everything it should have done. At the very least, it got through there and stopped at some point. So I'm going to say right here, I'm going to put a breakpoint. Refresh this, do my thing again. Oh, wrong one. Oh, I really should have made this faster. Mental note, increase the speed. Oh, like watching paint slowly dry. All right. Let's get some more size here. This dot die goes here, sets the live to false, stops the heartbeat, which goes over here and clears the interval. Right now it's 1. That's because it's an index, basically. And sets the heartbeat timer to 0 or to null. Removes the DOM element. Goes to the parent, tells it to remove the faller, which goes through here, finds the index of it, which was the 0th index, and then clears it. Goes back to there after the die. Okay, cool. So I'm going to remove this and refresh. And game.fallers.length 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 12, 10, 9, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So now they're all dying as they hit the bottom. Yeah.
Sean in the chat asked why put the breakpoint in the code instead of the console.
Because I didn't want to have to try to go and figure out where that line was. So I knew where it was in the code I was looking at right at the moment. So I just typed in debugger so it would stop automatically. I could have done it, but I really didn't want to go back to the code and try to scroll up and down and find the line number. A little bit of laziness. Thank you for being the Sean Whisperers, guys, by the way. Thank you. Although you more appropriately so. Yes, sir.
Question about the fallers.
Yeah.
So where is the array being stored, or where are we looking at?
Game.fallers, you mean? Where's that?
Yeah.
That's in the game object, the Dodger game object. So that's up here in the parent object, this dot fallers. So good time for a commit. Randomize fallers stats still has problem with all fallers being red, although that's because of the CSS, which you realized. Never actually put the color blue or anything. Hell with it. Oops, just realized why. Oh. Incorporated removal code upon hitting the bottom of the screen, and added code to check parent and faller size for use in future comparisons. Yeah, you want to, because when you go back to these things, because you have to like undo something, or you're trying to figure out what you did, or you're trying to prove to your boss, hey, look, I did stuff, then it's very, very helpful to have exhaustive commit messages.
Paragraph summary of the day.
Well, sort of. But yeah, it helps later on. And I've been through enough accidents where the commit that I was looking for was fixed stuff that I was just like, oh, fucking slit my wrists. Just what a nightmare. Get push. This is, I can't remember. Get branch, get push, add followers. Oh, right, get push, origin, add followers. Hey, Jordan. Okay. Time to make them collide. Which we got to do collision code. Well, alrighty.
Take this one, Sean.
The collision code stuff.
The whiteboard he had you do.
Do I have the parent or do I have the faller check for collision?
Well, wouldn't you want the faller to be checking for collision?
Maybe, but then I don't necessarily control, like each one might check as it moves, which is more important. But then there's no synchronization with all of its checking. But then again, because they're all running on their independent heartbeats, that might be the way to go. The downside is that there could wind up being a lot more checking.
Which would just be taxing on the
System, yeah. But we'll see if it's going to be proved to be problematic. So down here somewhere, faller dot prototype dot check collision function. I need to be able to get the position of the player. So I need a function up here, this dot get player position. And do I have anything like player stats or anything like that? No. This dot player stats or data is equal to an object. And height, width. Well, the height I don't care about, not at least not yet. Well, maybe I do, because it could hit with the top of it. No, but that's 0 point though, so I don't really care about the height, not yet at least. Okay, so probably not. Width and left.
Why do you need the width?
Because I get hit with either the left side or the right side, but the right side is dictated by the width of the player square.
Oh, are you detecting collision when it actually hits the player?
With the player. I don't care about the colliding with the boxes, the other fallers. I just care about hitting the player. That's the whole purpose of the game, is to not be hit by them.
Right. Okay.
So when I create the player, I need to at least set the width. This dot player, what do I call that? Data. Dot width is equal to this dot player area dom. No, that's player area. It's player element. Probably. And then the so I think the player moves themselves. It does have this new X here, which I think I want to store that too. So I'm going to go up to here and then say this dot maybe the player should store his stats then. Well, actually, I have avatar stats there. That probably was actually what I was originally intending. So I will do that instead of up here in the master object. So down here in the player, avatar stats. Ooh, that was supposed to be in the side. Okay. So this dot avatar stats. I also have this get player stats down here. Oh, right, that function I made. Shit. Okay, so I'm probably using them for there. I was right there. Width and height. So I do have height in there. That's why you. This is why you fucking set things to null up there, so you don't forget what the hell you put into them later on. This is exactly the reason, because I forgot what I had in there, and then it's like, oh wait, shit, yeah, I set that value in there, down further, but I didn't remember that because I couldn't see the like sort of template object up above. So I also need to get the current position. So rather than doing var x, I'm going to say this dot avatar stats dot left is equal to that. And then use that over here. Okay. So now if I do, I've got the player stats up here in check collision. Do I have anything to the, I want to track in every one of them. So I do have the player over here though. So I can say this dot parent dot current player. This, oops. This dot parent dot current player dot get player stats. And I care about what? The left and the right. So I do need to store it temporarily for player stats equals that. And all right. Do I have the left and the right and the bottom? I do have to care about all of them because I could move into a faller as it passes. I don't want to just check for the bottom collision because if it goes by me, I could then phase through it on the side and it wouldn't detect it. So I need to do all sides. Well, most of the sides. I can't possibly go in from the top, but I might as well just make this full one. I'll take the top collision check and put it at the bottom in case there's ever a possibility of moving back and forth. That make sense?
You're gonna take the top collision check and put it at the bottom.
Yeah, in a collision check, because I've done it before, I know that basically it's 4 conditionals in a bunch of ors. The least likely to happen, or in this case, the impossible one to happen, is colliding from the top. So I'm going to put that one at the very bottom because it'll never happen. That way, if I ever decide to expand it and allow my player to move up and down, I don't have to go back and add that in.
Gotcha.
It'll never really, it'll add a micro amount of processing onto everything, and then I won't forget about it later on.
Right.
Okay, where the hell was I? Oh, there I am. Okay, so do I have... I've got the current Y, which is the top. I'm going to go really quickly put these down here, at least so I can keep track of them. Var faller top is equal to this dot current Y. Var faller left is equal to this dot what? Do I... when I create the element, shit. That's going to be problematic because I set the position in the parent. The child doesn't know when it's moved somewhere else. The follower doesn't know. Because I set the position up here in create follower. But right here, it's left position. Now I could check it every time, like in the follower, and then see when it stays constant, but then that's kind of messy. I think the best case scenario to salvage this is to basically just say to the follower, new follower.update stats. And down here, I will do follower, keep doing that, dot prototype dot update stats is equal to function new stats. And what am I going to pass into that? I've got the top is always going to be 0, at least for now. So really, it's just the left. This current x is equal to new stats dot well, actually, I'm not even passing that in, am I? I'm just telling it to check, so I don't have to check anything or get anything. This dot follower element dot position dot x, or left. Position is a function that from jQuery that gets the left and top of the element relative to its parent. Which could cause problems because the player's object is in the player area, which if I get the position relative in there will be different. So I don't want to use position, I want to use offset, which will get it relative to the entire screen, not just in its own parent. Okay. All right, so we've got then follower left is this dot current x. I need the var follower right. And I need the follower bottom spelled correctly. So where am I getting the bottom from? Do I know the height of this? Yes, I do. So the follower bottom is going to be follower top plus this dot height. That looks right. And then what's the last one I need? I need follower right, which would be this, sorry, follower top plus, do I have a width on this? No, I don't. Where do I set the height? Down here. So I'll just do this here. This dot width is equal to this dot follower element dot width. And then down here, follower height plus this dot width. Did I put it up here? No, I didn't. Almost didn't program rule. Width is equal to null. Okay. So I've got the top, left, right, and bottom of the follower. Now I need the top, left, right, and bottom of the player. What did player stats get us again? And that's getting that. So that's the height, width, and left. I might as well put it in top. Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. I did put it in there. It was part of Avatar stats originally. See, again, because I didn't put it in there in the top there, I forgot what was actually going to be in it. I could have figured that out just by running the code, but apparently I'm trying to code by the force right now. So I should already have it. To prove that to myself, I am going to put a debugger point here and then call check collision at some point just to see what data I have available, rather than guessing at what I'm doing. Okay, we got a bug right off the bat, so main on 108. It said that cannot set property width of undefined. This.player data, is that not a thing? Oh, right, because it's not that anymore. Did I really? I think that was something I added before, but then I got rid of. So let me, for the moment, comment that out and see what happens. A faller, and then what am I going to do? Actually, that has to be check collision. Okay, so game.faller sub0.check collision. It's like a race. I've got to do it before it hits the bottom. Now I'm glad it's actually kind of slow. Okay, so faller top, faller left. That is patently wrong because that is not 0. So I got to check that out. Faller right, that's 256 and 256. That seems, the width is 0. So it didn't quite, oh, that's why, okay. Yeah, because the base stats, so it's current Y is correct. It knows where it is at the moment. That's being updated correctly. What didn't happen was it didn't have current X updated correctly or faller top. That probably, oh yeah, that's probably why. That probably is because of JavaScript's propensity for not actually updating the DOM element until after the JavaScript that's updating the DOM element ends. So I changed the CSS, but probably I just told it to do it, and then I called, hey, look this up, but it looks at it before the CSS actually gets changed. To try to prevent something from being, like, let's say, for example, in your code, you move something 10 pixels to the right, 10 pixels to the left, 10 pixels to the right, 10 pixels to the left, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, but in a for loop. It would never move, ever. It would either be at the end or the beginning, but it would only do it once, depending upon what the overall thing was at the end. JavaScript tries to sit there and delay. It delays until after it's done running a section of code that's modifying the CSS, then it modifies the CSS whenever possible. The reason I discovered that was the first time that someone in this class tried to do a a carousel, and they did so via CSS classes. So rather than having a carousel where it did animate, it had a CSS class that put, if this was the center here, it had one on the right side here that would move to, or one on the left side here, and it added classes, but then it would just keep breaking. And it took me months to figure out why it was doing that for their code. And it was that thing. CSS waits until the JavaScript finishes running a particular function, and then it updates. That's probably what's happening here. So we can fix that. I should actually really bring up my Slack here on my phone so we can see anybody posting things. Let's do that. Okay. So where do I know the current X? I know it up here. I could pass it in because it is random X. So I'll pass in left random X and top 0. And then down here in update stats, I will take in the new stats and then say that current X is equal to new stats dot left, and might as well update it right there. Current Y is equal to new stats dot top. Okay. What do we got now? Okay, follower left is 69. 69, excellent. Follower right is 102 because the width is still 0. So still that problem. It doesn't know its size yet because the class just got added right up there. So either I need to force a redraw or I need to pull the stats out of the CSS somehow. How do I force a redraw? I forgot. There was a way to do it. It's how we fix the problem with the carousel. JavaScript force CSS redraw. Refresh. Ridiculously stupid thing, too. I should have noted it somewhere. No, that's not remotely what I want. No. There we go.
Somebody says that triggering resize on window.
There it was. I think that's about what I wanted. So in my create element, My other option would be is I could have a checking in my fall. I could have a redeclaring fall function that after the first fall, it then updates its stats. But this is the problem that I had before. So right here is the CSS. If I let's see if that forces it. Nope. Okay. God, it was such a simple, whatever it was very stupid, but very simple. These all seem like ridiculously complex. That's ridiculously small looking. Dot defer. No, that's a promise. Well, for the meantime, I'll have to go with the fall check. First, let's see if it even knows what its own size is at that point is. This dot prototype dot fall. Let's see if it knows what its size is. This dot faller element dot width. Yes, it does. Okay, so what I'll do is the same thing I did with the continuing stat thing I did before. I'm going to have this dot fall after first check, and then fall straight up, and then I'm going to say that what was it? This dot height, this dot width. Okay, this dot height is equal to this dot faller element dot height. This dot width is equal to this dot faller element dot dom element. Why do you keep doing that? Dot width, and then faller dot prototype dot fall is equal to faller dot prototype dot fall after first check. So after I do the first one, I grab the stats for the very first time it gets created. Then no, that won't work because it's a prototype. I'm getting fucked by the prototype because then it would redefine it for everything and no future element would ever be able to check itself after the first. So I'm going to have to do the prototype one and then do a local one that then erases itself. I can't do, because I can do the prototype one, so I can do fall. But then what I'm going to do is, and hopefully this will work. Yeah, I could do that. Okay. So I'm going to erase this. Let's see if this works. In my original faller, I'm going to have a this dot fall is equal to function, and I'm going to check this, and then inside there I'm going to call this dot proto dot fall. So I'm going to try to do is set my height and width, and then call the prototypal fall method to do the actual fall stuff. But I don't want this fall function on this particular object to ever run again. I only want it set the first time. Let's make sure that everybody's clear about what I'm trying to accomplish here. I don't want to do an if statement every time I fall and then see if I've already set it or not. That's going to be incredibly wasteful. So what I'm going to try to do is then say, let's see if I can do this. This dot fall, so delete this dot fall, which will theoretically delete the local instantiation's copy of that function, which would only leave then the prototypal version of it, which you could then default to. Or if that doesn't work, then I can set this dot fall to be equal to this dot proto dot fall. All right, come
I'm a
on.
little lost on
Throw the questions at me.
So,
This is barely comprehensible to me. There's got to be some questions out there.
so the delete is, where is it deleting it?
Okay, so there's, first off, let's see a faller in action. So we put debugger here. And first see if it just explodes straight off the bat. Okay, so here we are. I want to look at then this. Here is my faller object, right? Note the fall function in it. In my prototype is also a fall method. But the fall method up top there is the one that I embedded directly into the object that has the thing that sets my height and my width.
Oh, so you're trying to get rid of the one in the prototype?
Not the prototype, the one in my object. I want to delete my local version of the fall function after I use it. Yes, sir.
Is the reason why you're creating the proto one, is it because it has new things?
No, the proto one, all the prototype stuff I'm doing there because I'm going to be instantiating potentially hundreds of these things. So prototype allows me to cut down on the memory usage. They're all going to be referring up the prototypal chain to this sort of ancestral faller to get all the methods. You have questions?
I'm just, isn't there a way to find out the height and width just by maybe binding self or something like that, or binding something?
That's not the problem that's causing this issue. It's not redefinition of this. It's that until the first frame, when the DOM element has been appended to the page and has rendered at least once, it really has no height and width. It hasn't rendered yet. Now, I could go and give it a fixed height and width, but then that would take out all the ability to do that from the CSS. I could do some sort of weird workaround that would take the CSS, but then that's, you know, bastardizing the entire process. Yeah.
So you're saying once you use the fall function and then once it re-renders itself with proto, then in that moment it will have.
Once once it's rendered itself at least once, it will have height and width. This is exactly the same problem you have with images, for example, is that if you do a event based upon document ready, and you do something based upon the size of an image, you will get fucked up data because image load is done asynchronously to the load of the document. So document ready happens before the images are fully loaded. So if you try to do something based off the height and width of the image, you won't get right data. It may or may not be right. Yeah.
Just as an aside on that point,
Mhm.
in developing our app, we had exactly that problem, but the guys who made the plugin that we're using solved it by making a free plugin called Images Loaded.
Yeah.
That basically acts sort of like document ready, but including.
Yeah, so what you can do is, one way is to keep track of all your images and basically do dot load on them. And then you keep track of how many times, like I loaded 15 images and I got 15 images, said they were ready. Okay, now all your images are loaded. Another way you can do it is on load for individual items, I think, but I haven't.
That was problematic. It's not always 100%. So that's why this guy wrote this little plugin that just you just do it like a promise. You know, anything you want, document is loaded, and then a callback function.
I think also defer might help with that. I remember reading something about that, but I didn't care about time very much. So, yeah, so that's the problem with this. And I said this is the problem. Only reason I ever discovered this problem and how to solve it originally was when trying to do a carousel and to animate it by doing transition duration and CSS, like adding a CSS class onto it that moved it somewhere else, and then. But like, for example, when in a carousel, you have the center thing, and let's say that you want to move something from this, like the right side, your left side to the center. What if it started over here though? So first you have to take off the transition duration, move it over here, and then put the transition duration back on, and then apply the class to it that moves it to the center. But because of the way that JavaScript works with CSS, that didn't work. You watch it go like whoop, 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 because it didn't take off the transition duration, because you took it off and then put it right back on again. So CSS is like, well, nothing happened, nothing changed, I'm not going to do it. So it never left. So we had to force the issue, and I can't remember what it was that I did to fix it. So right now, rather than doing that, rather than trying to fix it that way, which would force a screen redraw, which would kind of be wasteful anyhow, I'm trying to make a function that only, like fall gets called every time it renders, right? Every time it falls down. But I only want fall to set the height and width once, but I don't want to waste processor cycles doing an if statement every time, like if we've already got the data, right? Because it's fine, but then every point past that point, it's waste. And if statements are incredibly expensive. I do not want to be wasting every fall cycle with another if statement, if possible. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a object level method called fall that will overlap the prototypal fall. You understand what I mean by that? Because it's on the object. It's like, it's like when you have a local variable. Even if you have a global variable, you can't see it because the local variable overrides it. If I had a var my var, if I even had a global level my var, I couldn't see it because the local one takes precedence. But after I'm done using it, I'm going to obliterate the reference to it. So now the only reference will be the prototypal one. I couldn't do what I did before because it's on the prototypal one already, which would mean that the very first element would figure out its height and width, and then no element that came afterwards would ever check because it's already been remapped. So let's see what explodes. Height, width, did we get something? 119, 119. So our prototype dot fall is our function. It calls that function, which does the rest of the fall functionality, which maybe I should, maybe not. Okay, cannot read property position of undefined. undefined on 185. Not sure. Okay, so I think that that worked properly. I do want to put a debugger down here too. So we go into that function. Into here, follower element is undefined. Why would it be undefined? Because this is the wrong thing. This is probably the window. It's a, oh no, it's the prototype. It's the prototypal object. So I need to, up here, dot fall dot call this. I need to use the call method to call the function and keep its this to point to the appropriate object. All right, let's give that a shot again. So now this is a follower. Do I need anybody get lost in what I just did there?
Yeah, can you run through that one more time?
So the problem was that without, when I did it with the prototype fall, it went into the prototype object, but then this was pointing to that prototypal object, the granddaddy object,
Right.
not my individual instantiated faller. So I used .call and gave it this to redefine the internal this to that particular one, which could wind up screwing me royally, because that could potentially make a race condition if it's actually changing it in the prototypal one.
Did you explain .call to me?
It's the same thing as bind. Call is immediate.
Okay, and bind has to be.
Bind makes a encapsulation that you could then call later.
Okay.
There's call, apply, and bind. Remember those from our
Yeah, they
example?
all do like the same thing.
Yeah.
In a different.
Yeah, a bind does it that you can call later. Call and apply both immediately invoke the function. The only difference is that any successive arguments, call, they are comma delimited. How you feeling? And then apply, you give a second parameter of an array, and those are broken up into the parameters,
Okay.
into the arguments. Okay, to do, make sure this won't mess with other fallers created in close temporal proximity, generating a race condition due to modifying the prototype of all methods. Probably won't, but not with my luck. Okay, so let's see if it works now, the rest of it. Goes out, okay, and we delete this .fall. So now if I look at this, there's no fall method anymore. See, I remember before there was a fall method. I'm going to redo it one more time so I can show you.
Couldn't you do it without a race condition by making, instead of modifying the prototype, making like, fall to function and then setting this fall equal to fall to at the end of your first function?
Then I'm having that fall to function in every instantiation of it. And I'm using up more memory for each one. I mean, it's not like it's a huge issue. There's not going to be necessarily thousands or tens of thousands of these, but I'm trying to be a little bit clean. So if I hover over this, you can see the fall method right there. And so again, it's still there. This dot fall right under current Y above faller element. And then now fall is gone. Now it'll only use the prototypal one, which only makes it fall down, not sets the values. Yo, Wizard Harry.
There's a marathon this weekend. Anybody else talk to?
There was a marathon of coding.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
was
mean,
just studying. Sorry.
no, that's this coming.
Okay, so
No, I just watched it. Just on the back.
okay, so hopefully that'll fix then this other thing we've been trying to make work. All right, so width is 119, height is 119. So we got the top, we got the left, we've got the right and the bottom, but why does that look wrong? Oh, because it followed top on both. How very clever of me. This should be follower left. It's like they shouldn't be the same value. It's like there's something wrong here. There we go. Now we're getting something that looks like real data. 4 different values. And my player stats is looking about right. It's 0, 0, although the left and top 0, 0, because I need the absolute position. But I'm using that left for the player movement. So I'm gonna have to do something like some sort of absolute position stat inside there. So that's player stats, which comes from current player, player stats, which comes from player. Here it is. Avatar stats. Absolute stats. And that's an object, and that is left null and top null. And then wherever I set the top and left from before, set stats here. I got the same problem with this fucker. Possibly. But I'm getting height and width here, so maybe it won't matter. This dot avatar stats dot absolute stats is equal to this dot player DOM element dot offset okay. Player stats, absolute stats. There we go. So we have the top and the left, and we can then get the height and the width and such to get the rest of it. So where's my function? So var player top equals player stats dot. I'm using the running object to be able to feed my programming. Like, okay, here's the data I need. If you don't know what you have to use, just put a breakpoint in there. warp into there and see what data you have available and then use that as a reference for what you're going to program. So I want the top is going to be the absolute stats top. Absolute stats dot top. And our player left is equal to player stats dot just absolute stats dot left. Our player right is equal to player left plus player stats dot width. And for our player bottom is equal to player top plus player stats dot height. All right, let's see what I got. Looks right. All the values are different. They all seem to be adjusted by approximately the right value. So now to check. And first I'm going to get my Ajax calls using XML. XML is basically HTML. So you can parse it the same way.
We're done at 10, right?
What?
You just gonna go home at 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. That's my plan. Okay. I'm spoiling some of the practice problems, but it's easier to check. If you think about all the conditions where you can collide, there are touching on the left, touching on the right, touching on the top, touching on the bottom, partially on the left, partially on the right, partially on top, partially on the bottom, partially top left, partially top right, partially bottom right, partially bottom left, wholly inside, wholly outside, and exactly at the same. Those are the different collision conditions. You can kind of parse those down, like you don't need like the top left and top right, or the left right to make top right. You can just check them individually. But that's still a lot of things to check. However, to detect if something is not colliding is only 4. Because, for example, if the top of this element is wholly below the bottom of this element, they could be colliding, ever. Also, if the left, and from your point of view, of this element is greater than the right of this element, there's also similarly no way they could be colliding. So if I check for these 4 conditions, if any of them are true, it can't be colliding. You just draw it out sometime. It'll fuck with you for hours. Don't worry. So if faller top is, the top of this one has to be, actually the faller top is the one I want to do last. So let's do player is greater than, because y goes that way, it goes downward. Player top is greater than faller bottom. Or player left is greater than faller right. I'm just writing out like this to make it easier to see it. Or player right is less than faller left. Or, and then finally the one that doesn't really matter right now, player bottom is less than faller top.
Can that be considered negligible? Player bottom because it's not even push the bottom?
Well, we had a discussion about that already.
Oh, okay, then I missed that.
There is no possibility right now of the bottom of my player hitting the falling object because I can't go down. But eventually, if I ever add that capability of going up and down, then I'm going to need that. So I might as well just put it in now, since there's a pretty good likelihood I'll do that. And if not, I could just comment out that section. And then, so if any of those are true, then return false. Otherwise, return true. If all of them are false, then there's a collision. If any of them are true, there can't be a collision, right? If this side is to the right, or in your case to the left, of this side, no matter if I'm above or below, I can't possibly be colliding. I have to be colliding or co-locating on both locations. You'll find that this works a lot better because while a lot of things work very well with being inside, they don't necessarily work when the outer boundaries are either wholly outside or wholly inside. So if you take an array and you say like, okay, well, do these arrays overlap? 1 and 5, let me put this. I'm gonna turn on the light, please. Thank you, sir. If you have an array of 1 and 5 and an array of, say, 5 and 6, do those overlap? Well, yeah, you can easily detect that, okay, this one's less and this one's greater, those touch. But what happens if you get something like this, where it's like -3, 15? Well, clearly we can see they overlap because this one is like here and this one's like this, so there is collision. But how do I detect it except by checking all the numbers? And that's only in one dimension. If I need to check it for a 2-dimensional object, I got to check all of those things for both dimensions, which gives me to 8 checks. Whereas this one is only 4 checks. All right, so 10 o'clock, let's wrap this up and see if we can get a collision. Why?
He's asking why the screen does that.
Oh, Inception.
Exactly.
I've been here for a month and I've never asked that question.
Because as it records through, right, it's recording the screen, but it itself is part of the screen.
Okay, that is.
So it's like a mirror facing a mirror, but then it does that sort of progressively because the refresh rate isn't instantaneous. Okay, so I'm going to do here under fall. Actually, the heartbeat. I think I'll do it in
feel like if I didn't ask,
Hold just do this jacking from
I can easily have you.
Let me put down here just console.log collision. I got that debugger statement still in there somewhere. No, I don't. Okay, good. Oops. I get there in time. No, nope, didn't do anything. Really?
Why don't you make another?
No, I must. Actually, I need to put a breakpoint in the check. Collision. So I'm not sure why the other one didn't do it, but let's make a few. Yeah, it seemed like it only did it like when it first hit it somehow. Maybe not at all? What the hell?
What if it's only recording the outer edges?
That's to be completely in there.
No, it hit it right from the edge.
and it's counting without
Now it's still going.
Yeah, I think it was based off some old position.
So you have to be completely inside.
Yeah, there's something about that. More tests just to make sure so I can have some reference. Probably one of my if statements on the top and bottom one was not quite right. That one was completely aside and didn't do it. So, to do what the family, yo. Inside joke. You forgot. Ah, why is collision only sometimes working? Get add get commit dash m added initial faller collision. A problem that it only works sometimes. Get push, branch. Get push, add fallers. Get push, origin, add fallers. All right, that's it. Try to finish this up then Thursday.